Hello there, Coach Tina here. Hey, it is day 5 of my challenge, Have a Great Year. And I'm having a really great time doing my challenge. It's a 7-day challenge, so it's got Thursday and Friday still left. It's not too late to join if you're interested. But what we are doing is, it's kind of been fun. I have my challenge that I'm doing in the mornings at 7:30 a.m. Central. But I'm also participating in a 31-day challenge called the Wisdom Challenge with Pedro Adao. And what we're doing is we are reading a chapter in Proverbs each day in the month of January. And so he brings in a speaker at 11 a.m. Central Time, and I get to watch that. Well, because I knew I was going to be doing my challenge, and because I knew that he was going to be doing his, I thought, how can I marry those two? And what I ended up doing is my post in the evenings that kind of talks about the topic I talked about this morning, which was field and finding your purpose, and takes Pedro's topic and talks about excuse me, I'm going to yawn. Oh, sorry about that. Pedro's topic, and I see if there's a way that I can bring them together. So the challenge is on me to find a connection between the two. So today was chapter 5 in Proverbs. Now, I read it in the morning before I did my challenge, and I thought, wow, this is interesting because most of the chapter is about prostitution, and it's a very good chapter. It tells a lot of really good things, but there's that. And so I thought, well, I'm going to wait to see Pedro's presentation today to see what he brings in. Because I already was struggling with field and prostitution, although I guess the oldest profession, right? But not where we're going here. Anyway, Pedro chose to bring in Dr. Dave Martin today, and he introduced him as almost a comedian. And Dr. Martin talked about chapter 5, not in the way that we would think. He actually kept it very light, didn't have a lot of humor. So I don't think he's really a comedian. Maybe I missed the very beginning when he introduced himself, but what he did talk about was very interesting. And so he talked about God being a God of order, and that when we do something like clean our house, we feel more aligned, more able to do more. And he said that that's because God is a God of order. He's clean, and he likes things straightened up and in order. And I thought that was very interesting. He said God likes to plan. Obviously, when he created creation, he had a system, and he gave a lot of instructions, plans. This is exactly how I want you to do this. This is how you build the ark. This is how you build the temple. And so it got me thinking, it's very interesting. Of course, a God of order wants us to be entrepreneurial. As Pedro will say, his whole message is that we are born, and it's funny, I haven't asked him, but if he considers everybody a kingdom entrepreneur, but those of us that have the yearning inside have a responsibility to uphold the kingdom. And as children of God, we are sons and daughters of the King, and that means we have a status to create and better the kingdom. And so the king prospers when his subjects do better. And so he wants us to do better. He wants us to multiply and expand our kingdom. So that concept is just kind of like, wow. And obviously, to me, that fits very well into the idea of field and finding your purpose, because he believes, like I believe, that God has put a seed in our heart that is our purpose. And when we can discover that seed and nurture it and grow it, great things can come from that. So that's all part of this planning and so on. But where he went with chapter 5 was that it's not a chapter just about prostitution. It's a chapter about bad decisions, about not doing the right thing when you know it's the right thing. And I guess we could kind of say that if you have a calling on your heart to follow your purpose or to do this thing, and then you let the world tell you that it's not a good idea or it's not going to happen, then you're discounting what God has said could happen. And that is a bad decision. So the reason why we're in the wisdom challenge in the first place is this idea of God's imparting wisdom into us so that we can make good decisions. I've only on day 5 of reading Proverbs from this viewpoint, and I'm already seeing that wisdom in there where I'm like, wow, God is saying, read this book. This is going to open your eyes so that you are able to perceive things differently than the rest of the world, which is pretty cool. And you will make better decisions because you will be listening to me. I had no idea this book had so much power. I am pretty impressed with the whole thing. So he brought up the idea of money. And I don't know if it was him or somebody else. It was a message that came up on in the chat during the session where they were talking about Solomon and Solomon having so many wives. And basically, the person in the chat said, here's the deal. Solomon was actually doing like a social service by taking in the wives. They were women without husbands, and he was taking care of them, giving them a home, so on. Now, we all know there's a little bit more than that, but it's an interesting thought, right? That he was protecting the women in the area. And here's what's interesting is Pedro talked about Solomon being a trillionaire, okay? Like way more money than I have, than Pedro has, than most people have, right? And what he said was, Solomon had a lot of wisdom and a lot of things he did, like having all those wives that we don't necessarily agree with. But what Pedro said is, why would we judge him? He obviously has a lot more responsibility, a lot more wherewithal is the word that comes to mind, with what he was given to manage. And so don't be so quick to judge that what he said might not be truth when he wasn't at the same level as us. So I find that all very interesting. There's a lot more to it. And I totally recommend that you go and join the Wisdom Challenge. I have the links. I would love to have you join under my affiliate link. But when you get in there, it's a free challenge. You have 31 days of amazing information. And then you get a replay of everything. You get to keep it. It's pretty fancy. So there's so much more that I could share, but I'm going to go ahead and end tonight so the video is not too long. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening to my interpretation of the wisdom as it relates to my challenge. And I hope you guys have a really blessed night. Be back tomorrow for day 6. And I'm really looking forward to connecting with you. So hit me up.